It's no surprise to anyone who knows me or has watched this channel that I am a huge fan of Death Battle. Versus debating is one of my passions, and it's everywhere, from my reactions to my animations to my variety videos. Surprisingly though, I've never talked about my most wanted matchups for the show that I adore so much. With Kratos vs. Ultra right around the corner, which would have been in my top 10 most wanted, I think it's finally time to cover this topic. I've gone back and forth on this, and I even talked to my friends about it, but I think I have a list of 10 matchups that I would most want to see. I have a couple rules for this list though. First, none of the matchups can have a character that has already been on the show. Now I have as many Akuma matchups as the next guy, but he already has 2 episodes on the show, for better or for worse, and I like to cover characters the show hasn't already. Here's a couple matchups that might have made the list if not for the rule. Batman is the character who should least return to the show, but I quite like the idea of a live-action fight between Bruce and John Wick, but neither of these characters really should make a return to the show. Luigi vs. Shaggy is a matchup that is based and amazing. I hardly count Luigi's been on the show, but rules are rules. This definitely would have made the list otherwise. The biggest offender of my rule is Jafar vs. Shang Tsung, which probably would have made it to possibly even the top 5, as it goes incredibly hard in so many ways. Consider it my highest honorable mention. Second off, the top 10 list can only have 1 entry per franchise. I could come up with 100.5 matchups for JoJo or DC, but I don't want the list to be full of them. I will have an honorable mention segment between numbers 1 and 2 for the matchups that this knocked out of the running. I'm not really limiting myself to matchups I think the show will do, but I'll keep my matchups somewhat realistic. I also want to avoid matchups that every single person would also put on their list. I'm not banning them, but I will also include only an uber popular matchup if it's a point to me. You know, I want Blue vs. Megamind so badly, but so does everyone else. Also, that's been announced. I forgot that when I wrote this. I forgot Blue vs. Megamind was announced. Bad example, but you get it. I think that's it. Shall we begin? With Kratos vs. Ashura happening soon, I'm confident we won't get another character from either franchise for quite a while. This won't stop me, however, from wanting more characters from God of War, and particularly Ashura's Wrath. That brings me to the absolute baller matchup that is Kenpachi from Bleach versus Augus from Ashura's Wrath. Both these warriors have magic weapons and visual impairment. The two work for groups that promise them great battles and only go along with them because of their intense love for the fight. This matchup goes incredibly hard for many reasons, but their personalities clashing alone makes it worth it. This isn't even to mention the animation potential or the choreography they could include. The analysis segments go over their fighting passions, but also to emphasize their similarities and differences. I have to admit, I'm definitely more excited to see Augus than Kenpachi, mostly for my love of Ashura's Wrath. That's not disrespect to Chad Kenpachi. Let's be honest, don't we all want to see a Bleach episode that's not against a Naruto episode? I mean, both Naruto vs. Bleach episodes are amazing. Come on. I will also begin my thoughts on who I think would win each fight, and that also seems to be in Augus's favor. Kenpachi, based on my knowledge, is between continent or planetary at a maximum, while Augus is planetary at a minimum. Speed and hacks might be in Kenpachi's favor though, so it's not as black and white as it may appear. I'm on Team Augus, but if Kenpachi were to win, that'll be alright by me.
What are you gonna do, big guy? Shit on me?
Yeah.
Franchise that is near and dear to me is Kung Fu Panda. Despite that film, I have a love for the entire franchise. Another franchise I have a love for, as well as the entire world apparently, is Avatar: The Last Airbender. Now at this point, a normie might think I'm about to announce Aang vs. Poe is my number 9, but hey! You are mistaken. There's only one Avatar vs. Kung Fu Panda matchup for me, and that's Azula versus Tai Lung. Come on, guys. Both series are inspired by Chinese culture and major antagonists from that series. Both a skilled warrior who are obsessed with their own ego and promise greatness, yet too prideful to actually deserve it. They are entitled, powerful, and oh so amazing villains. The fact that they are both iconic for Blue Fire adds to it. Their interactions alone during the animation, much like Kenpachi vs. Augus, would be worth the price of admission. The idea of their martial arts classing while also using the environment to their advantage would be awesome. It could be comical or as serious as they want, and as cool or brutal as they want. Both work. And honestly, I want this matchup most of all to have an episode, Avatar, that's just good. There are other Avatar episodes that are, they range from bad to okay, but never one that's ambiguously amazing. Plus, they never said Tai Lung's name during post-analysis, and I will never forgive them for that, unless they do this episode. For who wins, it's incredibly tough, as both have reasons why they should win. I believe it's easier to justify Azula's victory, which, to no offense, Death Battle sometimes seems the way that they go for. However, I think Tai Lung wins if both were judged at their best, including Tai Lung's semi-resistance to fire. Either way, just an amazing idea that so many people would love to see. I gotta admit, this entry is a me pick. No one else in the world won this matchup, and this isn't the only matchup in this list that's like that. I'm a big horror movie fan, and therefore, I have many matchups surrounding the genre that I enjoy. I already made a whole video covering David Powers vs. Jerry Dandridge, which would be my pick for this list if not for that video I made. I want to cover different matchups. This is also why I'm not going to discuss Chucky vs. Springtrap. As good as it is, I just want to talk about a matchup that has no chance of ever making it onto the show, but it's something I want. That would be Carrie White vs. Sarah Bailey. I gotta admit, there aren't as complex connections as the past two. These two really are just all main characters of horror movies that have powers, magic or otherwise, who get bullied and get revenge on them who bullied them. I just really like these two characters. I think this would be a great chance for a horror matchup that isn't as well known as something like Freddy Krueger vs. Pennywise, and has a different vibe than just a killer vs. killer. Carrie may be a killer, but she's plenty different from slashers. Sarah is a hero of sorts, and I think that the difference in their powers and how they fight could be used for awesome animation, as well as a good point for debate. Their personalities being different as well adds to both. Adds like the Death Battle covering these movies that, well, not lesser known, aren't really talked about as much in the versus sense. Speaking of who wins, this matchup has a lot going on. I think both characters could be scaled higher than expected. Sarah certainly has more abilities and more powerful ones at that, but I think Carrie barely pulls it off. Both have feats more impressive than they seem, with Carrie pulling meteors down and Sarah's god creating a huge storm. And both could be put as fast or as slow as you really want to. However, Carrie's more violent, straight to the point fighting style, with Sarah's more defensive style, leaves Carrie with the highest chance to deal a killing blow first. Plus, Carrie has the ability to just shut people's hearts off, even from a distance, which leaves Sarah with no way to avoid it and no chance to survive. Either way, this is an underrated gem of a fight.
You bring bendy straws to bathrooms cause you like the taste of piss, Mr. Grinch.
Well, with that matchup out of the way, time for one that most people can agree on. Come on, you know I had to put Jack Skellington versus the Grinch on the list. I've been fiending for this episode forever now, and I thought we actually might get it this year with it being the first season in forever to have an episode in December. Skull emoji, Rip Jack vs. Grinch. Anyway, let's talk about why this episode should happen. The connections are plain to anyone. Both are somewhat scary interpretations of Christmas, with one character finding it and loving it, while the other knows it and hates it. Both learn the true meaning of Christmas after taking over the role of an evil Santa. Both have loyal dogs and are as iconic as they come. Everything works here. The analysis segments would be super fun and full of jokes and fun calcs, and they both have a simple story that would be great to cover. The animation would be incredible, with tons of potential for gags and serious moments alike. You could even have a character arc for Grinch mid-battle. The setup writes itself and the death could be graphically hilarious. Speaking of, who is dying? Well, both have similar attack speed and durability. I think Jack is smarter with better experience, but Grinch has better tech and abilities due to his other specials and the fights with the cat in the hat. Both are the other's equal, so this is kind of based on vibes. I think Jack has the winning vibe. I think it works more on a narrative level, and he does have a lot going for him with superior fighting abilities. I don't know if anyone doesn't really want this.
You can also get jiggy and shake your sack.
This entry is the other popular matchup that was even on the Tournament of Champions, but this matchup isn't just any old matchup, at least not to me. Sackboy vs. Maxwell is a super special matchup to me. Little Big Planet and Scribblenauts are so dear to me personally, more than most games can say they are. I love creating things, and these two games are perfect for that, on top of having really fun campaigns. Both are creators of infinite capacity, from franchises of puzzles and creativity. Both can do anything to put the minds to, as well as be little goofballs. They also both crossed over many different series. The analysis segments don't have much in terms of story to cover, even though they do have them. They're just not that complicated. Their crazy adventures and powers are more of what they would talk about. The animation in this battle would shine. The limitless potential of these characters would satisfy any animator, and we've seen episodes like Bill vs. Discord how creative the team can get. There is just so much to be done with action and choreography. The music would go so hard, everything. The only downside to this episode is kind of one with several this season. Whoever wins, not everyone will be happy. Speaking of, who do I think wins? Well, I think this matchup has an obvious winner, and has always been obvious. When discussing this matchup, people aren't really talking about like the little Sackboy who jumps, on the guys and shoots the cake. They're talking about the god Sackboy who controls everything. Yeah, Maxwell has incredible power, but it all comes from the notebook, which can be destroyed. Sackboy has all his powers inside of him, which include reviving infinitely, creating infinite clones of himself, stopping time indefinitely, rewriting time, fast-forwarding time, creating anything, destroying anything, and literally just about anything else you can think of. You can see that, even if you put Sackboy in only planetary and Maxwell multiversal, Maxwell cannot do anything to stop Sackboy's insane hacks. He is quite literally just unbeatable. So yeah, a little underwhelming for such a based episode. But hey, I love it, and so do a lot of other people, so I really hope we see it.
My God. The place really is haunted. What is that?
Alright, I admit, this is the other me matchup. I've talked before in a previous top 10 about a character who I like a lot, because of how evil and interesting they are. In fact, he was number 1 on that list. You're not ready for my Judge Claude Frollo matchup, yeah! But seriously, I'm a fan of classic Disney, and musicals in general. What other matchup for Frollo, but another musical villain with equal horniness? I'm going to talk about Judge Claude Frollo versus the Phantom of the Opera. This is the perfect matchup. Both are from classic novels to take place in France, where there is a deformed person who lives away. There is a beautiful lady, and the main villain falls in love with her and is willing to kill anyone who gets in their way. Both are associated with fire, have amazing songs, and are iconic villains in history. Hearing Death Battle cover these iconic stories of the Hunchback of Notre Dame and the Phantom of the Opera would be insane. A composite Frollo and Phantom would work just as well, as long as they're not talking Kingdom Hearts. That would be stupid. Give Frollo a big dinosaur for Death Battle. That'll show him. And the greatest potential for this episode would be making it a musical fight. We've never had anything like that before, with both combatants singing as they were fighting. How awesome would that be? The choreography would be simple, yet very cool, and they are somewhat normal people. Speaking of who wins, well, Frollo is probably physically stronger, Phantom wrestles with athletic men, but Frollo wields a giant claymore and struggles with Quasimodo, who rips pillars apart. However, I think Phantom takes every other category. He's certainly much smarter and has way more experience fighting on his own. His abilities far outclass Frollo as well, with him being able to cast fire and teleport. Most importantly to me, he has dodged bullets consistently, while Frollo has never done anything of the sort. I know I'm alone in this opinion, but I think this would be an all-timer episode. As some of you may know, I like anime, but I'm not one of those anime fans who just watch any new anime that comes out. I just watch ones that interest me, or the ones that Lo4 makes me watch.
There's an Asian among us.
Okay, Matthew.
I can probably count the amount of anime I've seen with just my hands. Many of you returning viewers know my love for JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which actually has a pretty decent track record on Death Battle, with one okay episode, one amazing episode, one great episode, and one that could have been so much better. JoJo has had it good on the show. One series that on Death Battle that could have a bigger presence is Hunter x Hunter, which only has one decent episode. Being two of the few anime I feel strongly about, I do care immensely for both their antagonists. Obvious as obvious, Cars vs. Meruem is a great matchup. The inhuman kings who are the pinnacle of evolution and are completely superior to everyone else in the verse, more or less. They have the abilities of everyone around them, and the ideals change once they reach the apex of their power. It's a rather popular matchup, but just in the small circles of JoJo and Hunter x Hunter fans. They have a small but ever so interesting stories. Hearing Wiz and Boomstick talk about Meruem Komuki is something I never thought I'd see. Not to mention them talk about the ultimate life form, his powers, his body. But their analysis segments aren't the only thing that would be awesome. Think of the fight. Both characters are actually fighting in equal for once, someone truly as talented as the other, and someone who actually poses a threat. Speaking of who wins, this is a very complicated topic and many people have a strong opinion on it. To me it's clear. Meruem, for as smart and powerful as he is just not as experienced as Cars, who's a far superior fighter. Even if you just put Cars at town level, which is a low ball, he can likely regenerate or counter anything Meruem can throw at him. due to his extreme speed advantage and regen. In fact, Cars has ways of killing Meruem even if he's thousands of times weaker, which is not where I'd put him. Both can get the mountain, and if you include even simple novel scaling, Cars far outclasses the Ant King. Cars has just every advantage on poor Meruem. Either way, this is the battle I look forward to.
Here comes my son, do 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 do. Here comes my son, and I say he's an egg.
Okay, let's stop messing around, guys. Let's get down to brass tacks. No more silly matchups. It's time for the top 3. These are the heaviest hitters. This is one of the 2 matchups I submitted for the Tournament of Champions. Ready? It's Wizpig versus Nitros Oxide. I don't have to explain myself. I will, but I don't have to. They're both incredibly iconic final bosses from racing games in the 90s, which both got remade. They're also both alien warlords who taunt the player throughout the game, and they conquer planets by racing. They're both... That's about it. But come on! You're telling me you wouldn't want to see this? Sure, there's not much of story or anything in terms of powers, which may make the analysis segments a little hard to write, but the potential for a fun episode is through the roof. Whibs and Boomstick being baffled by the wackiness of the characters, yet impressed by their power. The legacy of these 2 games, and their rivalry of which one was better. The pure comedic potential of an official death race death battle. Plus, Donkey Kong and Crash Bandicoot both only have 1 episode in their franchise, which is insane to me. This episode would not only allow the team to have a blast making a fun and creative episode, but it would resonate with a lot of people who grew up with these games, or played their remakes and loved them. And as I said in the original pitch, it's funny, but also very funny. Who wins? I know. I think Wizpig, that's what I heard. Bye!
Yukino, I'm coming.
Here's my second, or rather my first, entry for the OG Tournament of Champions. Let's not beat around the bush. Raoh vs. Toguro has been at the top of my most wanted for quite some time. I mean, who wouldn't want to see these 2 excellent units duking it out? Well, there lies one of my issues. Both Raoh and Toguro absolutely deserve to be on the show, but also both have great opponents lined up for them. Akuma could fight either. Garo vs. Raoh is a matchup I'm 100% down for exploring, and Toguro vs. Hisoka is a matchup I'm quite fond of too. I like all of those, but to me it's important to consider where they come from. These 2 are from a bygone age of anime, an age that, unfortunately, many people in the community haven't seen. Heck, both these series, despite their contributions to the anime community and how amazing they are, both only have a single episode of Death Battle. The 2 major antagonists from classic anime, who is buff can be, and are supernaturally obsessed with battle, is something I need to see. Yeah, it's not a perfect matchup. As I said, both have other opponents, and some might consider it a stomp. Fist of the North Star is much easier to scale to high levels, while Yu, at least early Yu, is not. It's hard to say exactly due to many differences between the anime and manga. Most of this stuff doesn't matter to me. I just want this to happen because both characters deserve this fight. I'm probably more passionate about this fight than any other on the list for many reasons. I think it's awesome, full of potential analysis, animation, and music. And Yu Yu Hakusho is my favorite anime of all time for many reasons. Even if it's not this exact episode, Raoh and Toguro should be on the show. And Raoh probably wins, but like I said, I don't care. Before we get to number 1, let's cover some matchups that couldn't quite make the list. Mostly because of the repeat franchise rule. Rick Grimes vs. Joe Miller. This is my number 1 pick for a live-action death battle. This has become an iconic rivalry, and I think we need more zombie fighting action since Leon vs. Frank. Speaking of, when's Resident Evil come back with DB Hump? Death vs. Kai. This has become somewhat of a recent legacy match, and I'm all for it. Both these living embodiments of death duking it out would lead for such a cool action, and the music would kill. Joseph Joestar vs. Ash Williams. This is peak. If you disagree, then this is the moment in your life that you must realize you have bad opinions. On Stroheim vs. Tao Pai Pai. Hope you're not tired of JoJo, because I got one more for you. Stroheim has a surprising amount of good matchups, including one recent one against GI Robot. And I always love Stroheim vs. Tao Pai Pai. Both are from a simpler time in their series, which we should appreciate more. Okuyasu vs. Kuwabara. Last JoJo matchup, and it's probably Tai Lung my favorite, alongside Cars vs. Meruem. It's hard to say which one I like more, but since Cars vs. Meruem is a little more realistic to actually happen on the show, I chose that one. This matchup is perfect in every way. And as for my final honorable mention, Lord Dragon vs. Omazeo. This goes insanely hard, which is great because Power Rangers has an amazing track record on the show for good episodes. Not for winning, but for quality episodes. Still waiting for Conrad to be on the show, but hey. This would have made it onto the list, except for my one franchise rule. But wait, none of these franchises have been on the list. Well,
For real?
we've had a ton of good matchups on the list. We've laughed, we've cried, but only one can take my top spot. You already have an idea of what franchise is featured, so why not just get to the point. Ryuga Banjou vs Ryuji Sakamoto is my most wanted death battle and probably will be for the foreseeable future. As you might be able to tell from the previous matchup, I like Kamen Rider. And as for as sussy and annoying as Loafer is, he has excellent taste in shows. Kamen Rider Build is an amazing show, and it's only one of the many great shows under the Kamen Rider series. Picking up Persona has an amazing games. I mentioned before, but Persona 5 might be my favorite game of all time, for many reasons. One of the biggest is its characters. Banjou vs Ryuji has skyrocketed itself to the top of my list for a ton of reasons. I love both these characters. Their status as the best friend is used excellently in the show and game, and they're super likable and dependable. They also have crazy connections. Both are athletes with ruined careers who join a group of heroes to fight against an evil system. With their powers they got in a similar way, and they act similar, and they both use elemental powers. They're super similar, but not in a way that makes them feel the same. The potential to cover their tragic, rich stories in the analysis is great, but leaves room to talk about how cool their powers in their many forms. That fight, oh gee willikers, it would go so hard. Their similar personalities clashing, the style of both characters shining through, the awesome attacks, transformations, everything. The music, Kamen Rider X Persona music, it just has everything going for it. A truly exceptional choice for an episode featuring a series that has only two good, but 2 episodes in the show, and one that has none. Build and Persona 5 are both amazing and special to me personally, and I'd love to see them. A bonus is the debate interesting. Sure, lowballing them makes them kind of a stomp, as Banjou is at minimum planetary and Ryuji is not, but highballing them brings them to the complex multiversal. It's kind of dumb. However, the middle ground is perfect. Both can scale to universal pretty easily, even if I personally disagree with where to place them. But that does make them pretty even. Speed, ability, intelligence, also pretty debatable too. It can go either way. Who do I think wins? I don't care. Either one is fine with me. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed my list, and I hope you enjoy Kratos vs Ashura. Remember, if Kratos wins, we're burning down the world. Time to record the episode. The analysis segment should go over their fighting passions, but also the empathize. The empathize? That's not the right word. Gosh darn it. Emphasize. There. Gosh darn it. With this being the first season forever to have an episode in December. Skull emoji, Ripjack Skeleton. That's not Rip guys, Ripjack Skeleton. He's dead, guys. Both from classic novels that take place in French. French? They take place in French, guys. Speaking of who wins, while Frollo is probably physically stronger, Phantom wrestles. I don't even know where I should pick up from. I was talking so fast. I'm just gonna do speaking of who wins and whatever. Future me can worry about this. It's a rather popular matchup, but just in the small circles of JoJo and Hunter x Hunter. Did I just say Hunter x Hunter? It's Hunter x Hunter. Am I stupid? And probably will be for the Wish. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed my life. Hope you enjoyed my life. What the heck? Why does it say hope you enjoyed my life? I don't even like. Oh, it's supposed to be list. Hope you enjoyed my list. Why did I write life? It's so stupid.